Let's talk about the first page of Project 1. So you're given a blank budget sheet and you have to fill it in. There are 3 columns we have to fill in: monthly actual, monthly budget amount, and variance. Now, some of you may already be thinking, wait a minute, I don't have income, I don't have a job, how do I do this project? That's okay, make one up. Now what I recommend doing is looking up the amount of money that a person with the career that you want makes on median or on average. So for example, if you want to be a nurse, perhaps your income is going to be somewhere between $45,000 and $65,000 a year. So figure out what your monthly income will be based on that, okay? Another career that you're pursuing, that's okay. Look up the information on that one, use it, calculate what the monthly income would be, okay? And you'll make up reasonable expenses to fill in the rest of this sheet so you can still participate on this page. Okay, let's start at this first piece here, which is all about our income. Now, there's a line that says income and a line that says wages. I think this is a little repetitive, so let's just fill in the line that says wages net pay. So this is the amount of money that you are budgeting after taxes, healthcare, and anything else has been deducted from your check. Now, how much are we budgeting? Let's take that into account. So the amount that we're budgeting might not even match the amount of money we make, right? So maybe we don't even fill that in yet. Maybe you save that till the end. So let's come back to it. Let's talk about fixed expenses. Fixed expenses are expenses that do not vary from month to month. You can totally anticipate how much you're going to have to pay in rent, renter's insurance, your phone, internet, etc. every month. You know what these are going to be. So the first column we fill in is the budget column. How much money am I setting aside? Let's say that my rent is $769.82 every month. So I budget that amount, and we can assume that that's the amount that I will actually end up spending, which is what goes in this column. My variance is the difference between the two. Now, because this is a fixed expense, it is unsurprising that there's a 0 variance, okay? In fact, it would be unsurprising if this whole part had a 0 variance because these are fixed expenses that we can anticipate. However, let's say, for example, for internet, I have a monthly charge of $64.99. But let's say I forget to pay the bill, I pay like 2 weeks late, and they've slapped on a late fee. So now I've budgeted $64.99, but thanks to that late fee, I end up spending $74.99. So that's not a 0 variance, right? So I take the difference, and the difference is 10. So I have a negative variance of $10. So remember, when we're finding variance is equal to what we budgeted minus what we actually spend. So this tells us that if we end up with a positive variance, this is money left over. Okay, so this is a good thing. This means you didn't spend as much as you thought you would. However, if you have a negative variance, that means you overspent. You spent too much. You spent more than your budget had planned for. Okay, so pay attention in your variance column. Make sure that you're including the positive and negative signs because those matter. Okay, so you'll continue and you'll fill in each of the boxes in your fixed expenses. Now remember, I recommend starting with monthly budget amount, then fill in what you actually spent, and once you have those, you'll be able to fill in your variance. Let's take a look at variable expenses, which are expenses that aren't necessarily going to be the same from month to month. Electricity, for example. Let's say I budget $80 this month for electricity. However, I'm out of town for 2 weeks, so I don't even really use much electricity, and my actual expense in electricity only ends up being $40. Awesome. So my variance is what I budgeted minus what I actually spent. So in this case, that gives me a positive variance of $40. Now remember, positive means that it was money left over. So I fully would expect there to be a variance of some kind, either positive or negative, for every single one of these items. It's very unlikely that you'll be able to predict down to the cent what you pay on each of these expenses. okay, because they're variable. So again, start by filling in your budget, then record what you actually spend, and then you'll be able to find your variance. So finally, we come down to this bottom piece, which is the total. So total expenses this month. How much you budgeted that you would spend, how much you actually spent, and the difference. Now, once you fill in this number right here, the amount that you budget, you can put that up here as your monthly budget amount. How much of your wages you're budgeting. I'm okay if you want to do it that way. Same thing here with total expenses, what you actually spent. I'm okay if you want to put that up here, okay? This section to me is a little bit vague, and I think there's more than one correct way to do it, so you're welcome to interpret that piece as you want to. However, fixed expenses, variable expenses, there's a very clear way to do those. So I think this is a fun exercise. It's pretty cool to see the way that your variances might cancel each other out. So for example, you overspent by $10 here, but you underspent by $40 here, and it'll go down the line with you saving, overspending, and so on. And you can see whether at the end of the month you end up, in general, saving money on your budget or overspending. So a very, very practical exercise for this first page of Project 3. The last thing I want to say is that you are more than welcome to take a look back to Project 2. The final page of Project 2 had a budget sheet very similar to this. So if you're confused on it, just take a look back at that and use it as a reference as you're filling out this information.